The city glimmered that night, its skyline reflected in the glass walls of La Belle Maison, one of the most exclusive restaurants downtown. The kind of place Emily had always walked past but never entered, until tonight. It was supposed to be her night, her celebration. After 5 long years of late nights, missed vacations, and endless proving herself in a company that never seemed to notice, she had finally been promoted to senior project manager. Her salary had doubled, her name was on the board, and her boss had called her irreplaceable. So when her mother suggested they celebrate as a family, Emily's heart swelled. It felt nice. Finally, she had thought, they're proud of me. She'd spent the whole afternoon preparing. Her apartment smelled faintly of jasmine perfume as she slipped into a soft emerald dress that shimmered under the light. Elegant, not extravagant. She looked in the mirror and smiled. For the first time in a long while, she felt she had earned her moment. When she arrived at the restaurant, she spotted her family seated near the center, her father, straight-backed in a suit that looked slightly too small, her mother already talking animatedly, and her brother Ryan, casually scrolling through his phone. "Emily!" her mother called, waving her over. "There she is, our career woman." Emily smiled, her cheeks warming at the greeting. She took her seat, setting her clutch neatly beside her chair. The ambiance was perfect, soft piano music, flickering candles, and the distant clinking of champagne glasses. The waiter poured water for everyone, and Emily took a slow breath, savoring the rare sense of peace. But almost immediately, the atmosphere shifted. Ryan smirked, glancing up from his phone. "Wow, Em, trying to outshine the chandelier tonight?" Their mother laughed, that sharp, mocking tone she reserved for light-hearted jokes. "Oh, she's always been dramatic. It's just dinner, honey, not an award show." Emily forced a polite laugh, brushing it off. "I just thought I'd dress up a little." "It's a special night," her father grunted. "Special?" "Sure, a title change and a little raise. Don't get carried away." The comment stung, but Emily smiled anyway, stirring her drink. "It's more than a little raise, Dad. It's good," he cut her off, his voice carrying that finality that meant stop talking. The waiter arrived with menus, and Emily tried to breathe through the heaviness building in her chest. It wasn't the first time her achievements had been minimized, but she'd hoped tonight would be different. When the waiter returned to take their orders, her mother waved him off for a moment. "Before we order, let's toast." To Emily, for her. "What is it again, honey? Promotion?" Emily nodded. "Yes, senior project manager." "Ah, right." Her mother smiled thinly. "To our dear Emily, who finally found a boss kind enough to notice her hard work." The table erupted in light laughter, except Emily. The joke cut deeper than anyone could see. She lifted her glass anyway, clinking it against theirs. As the first course arrived, delicate plates of truffle risotto, her father leaned back in his chair. "You know, Em, maybe now you can help your brother with his business loan. His idea's going to take off any day now." Emily blinked. "Dad, I've already helped him twice." Ryan rolled his eyes. "Yeah, and I paid you back. Mostly." Her mother sighed dramatically. "Come on, Emily. Family helps family." "You're doing so well now." "It's only fair to share that blessing." The words twisted in her stomach. Share that blessing. That was always how it went. Every raise, every bonus, every small success, it wasn't hers to enjoy. It was another resource for them to use. She picked at her food in silence, her appetite fading. The waiter refilled her glass, and she caught his sympathetic glance, as if he sensed the unease at the table. Ryan leaned forward, grinning. "By the way, I told everyone at the office about your big promotion. They couldn't believe you actually made it. Guess miracles really do happen." The table laughed again. Emily smiled faintly, but her hands trembled beneath the tablecloth. She wanted to say something, to defend herself, to ask why they couldn't just be happy for her, but years of conditioning kept her quiet. "Anyway," her mother said, dabbing her lips with a napkin, "I'm glad you finally found something stable. Maybe now you can stop chasing impossible dreams." Emily looked up, her voice barely above a whisper. "I wasn't chasing dreams. I was building something," her father chuckled. "Don't get poetic, Emily. You're not a kid anymore." The laughter echoed again. Emily's heart sank as she stared at the soft candlelight flickering between them. For everyone else in the restaurant, this was a picture-perfect family dinner. But to her, it was a performance. One where love was always conditional, where pride was always wrapped in ridicule. She took a slow sip of water, letting the coolness ground her. She would not cry. Not tonight. As dessert menus arrived, Ryan leaned back and said, "You know, maybe next time you'll bring a boyfriend, assuming you haven't scared another one off." Her mother laughed so loudly that nearby tables turned. Emily's chest tightened, her pulse quickening. The laughter blurred into noise as her eyes dropped to her plate. That was the moment she realized this wasn't a celebration. It was a setup, and as she forced a smile, swallowing every ounce of hurt, she promised herself, quietly, firmly, that something inside her would change after tonight. They wouldn't see it yet. But they would all see it. The laughter still echoed faintly in Emily's ears long after the waiter took their dessert orders. The low hum of the restaurant, the gentle chime of glassware, the distant sound of a violin, none of it could quiet the roar of embarrassment in her chest. She stared at the candle between them, the flame dancing unbothered, its reflection trembling in her glass of water. Ryan was still grinning across the table, clearly pleased with himself for getting a rise out of her. "Come on, Em," he said with a smirk. "You know I'm joking." "You take everything so seriously," her mother chuckled. "That's exactly why she can't keep a man. Too sensitive, too emotional. Men don't like that, sweetheart." Emily tried to breathe through it, gripping her napkin tightly under the table. "Mom, can we not do this here?" she asked softly, hoping to de-escalate. Her father raised an eyebrow. "Do what? We're just talking." "Don't make everything dramatic." That word again, dramatic. It had followed her since childhood, used like a leash whenever she tried to stand up for herself. The waiter returned, setting down plates of crème brûlée and tiramisu. Emily thanked him quietly, but her family's laughter drowned out her voice. She could feel eyes turning toward their table now, diners curious about the commotion. A few heads tilted subtly, eyes lingering a bit too long before politely looking away. Ryan tapped his spoon against his dessert and smirked. "Hey, speaking of boyfriends, remember Mark? The one who dumped you right before Christmas?" Emily froze. Her fingers stiffened around her fork. "Ryan, don't." "Oh, come on, it's a funny story," he said, leaning back like a comedian setting up a punchline. She bought him this expensive watch. What was it, $2,000? And then he tells her he's seeing someone else. "Right before the holidays." Her mother covered her mouth, stifling laughter. "Oh, Ryan, stop," she said, but she wasn't stopping him. Her father chuckled. "You really did that? That's why you don't spoil men, Em. You make it too easy for them to leave." The laughter grew. Emily's throat tightened as her eyes dropped to the tablecloth, the white linen blurring as tears welled up. She tried to blink them away, but the sound of their laughter pressed against her like a physical weight. "Enough," she whispered. "What?" Ryan asked, still smiling. "I said enough," she repeated louder this time. Her voice cracked. A hush fell over the table for a moment. Her mother sighed dramatically, as if she were the victim of Emily's tone. "There she goes again," she murmured to her father. "Always so sensitive." "I'm not sensitive," Emily said, her voice trembling. "You're humiliating me in front of everyone." A couple at the next table looked over. Her mother glanced at them, her expression tightening, not from guilt, but from embarrassment that Emily had made a scene. "Lower your voice," her father hissed. "People are staring." "They're staring because you're laughing at me." Emily shot back, her voice louder than she intended. Her heart pounded. She could feel her pulse in her ears, the heat rushing to her cheeks. Every part of her wanted to disappear. Her mother's tone turned cold. "You know what? Maybe if you learned to take a joke, we wouldn't be having this conversation." Ryan smirked again. "Yeah, Em, chill. You're ruining dinner." ruining dinner. She stared at them, her family, the people she had sacrificed for, the ones she had believed would finally be proud of her. And all she could see were faces that found amusement in her pain. Her fork clinked against the plate as she set it down. "You're unbelievable," she said softly, her voice breaking. "All of you," she pushed back her chair. The sound scraped loudly against the polished floor. Heads turned again. A waiter at the bar paused mid-step. "Emily," her father said sharply, "don't you dare walk out. Sit down and stop this nonsense." But she was already standing, her hands trembling as she grabbed her purse. "You invited me here to celebrate, and all you've done is mock me. I'm done pretending this is normal. Emily." She turned before he could finish and walked away. Every step toward the restaurant's exit felt heavier than the last. Her heels clicked against marble, echoing in her ears as she passed the waiters and curious diners. She could feel their eyes on her, some sympathetic, some judgmental. She pushed open the door to the restroom and slipped inside, her reflection waiting for her in the mirror. For a long moment, she just stared. Her eyes were red, her lipstick smudged. She looked like a ghost of herself, the same woman who had walked in radiant and proud, now hollowed by shame. The first tear fell silently. Then another. Then she broke, sobs shaking her shoulders as she gripped the edge of the sink. She hated herself for crying, for caring, for always hoping this time would be different. She thought about every sacrifice she'd made, the rent she covered when her parents forgot to pay, the tuition she helped with when Ryan couldn't afford books, the countless times she said it's okay when it wasn't. And that's when something inside her shifted. The pain didn't vanish, but it crystallized, sharp, cold, and strangely clear. For the first time, she saw them not as family, but as people who thrived on keeping her small. She straightened slowly, wiping her tears. The mirror reflected someone new, tired, yes, but steady. Her voice was barely above a whisper, but it carried a steel edge she'd never heard before. "No more," she said to her reflection. Then she turned, smoothed her dress, and walked out of the restroom, not to return to the table in defeat, but with a quiet, dangerous calm. Something had changed. They just didn't know it yet. When Emily stepped back into the restaurant, the air felt heavier, quieter somehow. The dim golden lights, the sound of soft piano music, the gentle murmur of distant conversations. Everything felt distant, like she was underwater. Her eyes flicked toward her family's table. They were still there, still eating, though her seat sat empty like an accusation. Ryan noticed her first. "Oh, she's back," he said lightly, mouth still full. Her mother didn't even look up. "Finally decided to stop sulking?" Emily didn't answer. She walked to her chair, sat down, and folded her napkin neatly on her lap. The motion was deliberate, calm, controlled, so unlike the tremor of rage coiled beneath her skin. For the first time, she looked at them not as her family, but as strangers who had mistaken cruelty for love. "I'm sorry," she said finally, her voice level but cold. "I didn't mean to make a scene." Her father nodded curtly, as if she were a misbehaving child who had finally apologized. "Good. Let's not ruin a nice evening." The words rolled off him so easily. Nice evening. He hadn't even noticed the wreckage in her eyes. She sipped her water, every swallow steadying her resolve. They wouldn't get another chance to humiliate her. "Not again," Ryan leaned back with a smirk. "You know, Em, you really overreacted." Mom was just joking. Emily set her glass down. "I don't need an explanation," she interrupted quietly. Her tone startled him. It wasn't angry, but something in it made him blink. A flicker of unease. Her mother frowned. "You don't need to be rude." "I'm not," Emily said, still calm. "I'm just done." Her father looked up from his plate. "Done with what?" Emily's lips curved into a small, tired smile. "With trying to make this family proud. With begging for respect that should have been given freely." For a second, no one spoke. The piano played on in the background, the delicate melody contrasting with the tension thickening between them. Her mother scoffed. "Oh, don't start your drama again. You always turn small things into a tragedy." Emily chuckled softly, but it wasn't amusement. It was disbelief. "A tragedy?" she repeated. "You humiliated me in front of strangers. You laughed about my heartbreak. And somehow I'm the dramatic one?" Ryan sighed. "You're overthinking—" "No," she cut in sharply, her voice slicing through the air. "I'm remembering. That's all." Ryan's smirk faltered. "I'm remembering," she continued, her voice gaining strength. "When I worked double shifts to help you pay your college fees because Mom and Dad said they couldn't. I'm remembering when I covered their rent so they wouldn't lose the house. I'm remembering every single time I've been there for this family. And what I got in return was mockery and silence." Her father's expression hardened. "That's enough. Enough for who?" Emily's voice trembled, but not with weakness, with emotion that refused to be caged any longer. "Enough for you, because you can't stand to hear how badly you've treated me? Or enough for me, because I've finally stopped pretending it doesn't hurt?" The table went silent. The laughter from earlier had vanished, replaced by stunned quiet. Even nearby diners, sensing the tension, glanced over cautiously. Her mother folded her arms. "This is exactly why no one can talk to you. You make everything about yourself." Emily looked straight at her. "Because none of you ever did." The words landed like a stone dropped in water, quiet, but impossible to ignore. She stood again, this time not trembling, not running. Her hands were steady as she reached for her clutch. "I'm leaving," she said softly. "And I won't be coming back next time you decide to celebrate something. If you want to laugh, do it without me." Her father's voice boomed, more out of pride than anger. "You're walking away again? You always quit when things get uncomfortable." Emily met his gaze. "No," she said. "I'm finally choosing peace over pain." She turned and began walking toward the exit. Her heels clicked softly against the marble, the same sound as before, but this time it didn't echo with humiliation. It sounded like freedom. The cool night air hit her face as she stepped outside. She stopped for a moment, inhaling deeply. The city lights stretched before her, shimmering against the dark sky. Alive, indifferent, vast. She reached into her purse for her phone and opened her notes app, her mind suddenly clear. A list began forming, practical, sharp, deliberate. Close joint account. Cancel automatic transfers. Revoke Ryan's loan guarantee. Move savings to private account. Block them. For now. She stared at the list for a long moment, then typed one last word at the bottom. Enough. She took one last look through the restaurant's glass windows. Inside, her family was still sitting there, confused, whispering, too self-absorbed to realize what they'd just lost. And for the first time, Emily didn't feel small. She didn't feel weak. She felt in control. As she turned to leave, her reflection caught faintly in the glass, her posture straight, her chin lifted, her eyes steady. The same restaurant that had broken her an hour ago was now the place she'd found her strength. It was the beginning of something new. Not revenge yet, not entirely, but the first quiet step toward taking her life back. And deep down, Emily knew the next time her family came looking for her, things would be very different. The days after that dinner stretched into a strange, quiet clarity for Emily. At first, she expected the usual, the flood of calls, the guilt-tripping messages, the predictable "you overreacted" speeches from her parents. But none came. Her phone stayed silent, except for the occasional automated bank notifications, reminders of just how deeply her family's finances had been tangled with hers. That silence gave her time to think. Every memory of that night replayed in fragments. The laughter, the sneers, her brother's smirk. But instead of tears, each replay brought calm determination. She'd spent years thinking she was powerless, that her love and support were the only ways to keep her family whole. But now she saw the truth. They were the ones dependent on her, so she began to act. On Monday morning, she called her bank. Her voice was polite but firm as she confirmed the closure of the joint account her parents had used temporarily, years ago. An account that had somehow never been closed. Then she transferred her savings into a private high-yield account and set up new passwords on everything. Next came Ryan's loan. Her brother had talked her into co-signing his startup loan a year ago, promising it was risk-free. But his company hadn't made a profit in months. Emily called the loan officer directly and withdrew her name as guarantor, citing legal separation of assets. It took hours of paperwork and a hint of assertiveness she didn't know she had, but she did it. When the bank confirmed the change, she leaned back in her chair, exhaling deeply. For the first time in years, she felt untangled. Her phone buzzed that afternoon, a text from Ryan. Ryan. Hey, Em, I just got a notice about the loan paperwork. What's going on? She stared at the message for a long moment before typing back. Emily. Just taking care of my finances. A few seconds later, another message popped up. Ryan, are you kidding me? They said I need a new guarantor in 14 days or the terms change. You're screwing me over! Emily didn't reply. 2 hours later, her mother called. The name flashing across the screen sent a chill down her spine. For a moment, she considered letting it go to voicemail, but then she answered. Emily! Her mother's tone was sharp, rehearsed. Why did you touch that account? The mortgage payment bounced this morning. Because, Emily said evenly, I'm not responsible for your mortgage. Her mother scoffed. Don't talk nonsense. You've always helped with that. It's family. Exactly, Emily said quietly. And family doesn't humiliate each other in public. There was a pause, the first hint of guilt maybe, or shock. Then her mother's tone turned defensive. Oh, you're still on that? You really can't let go of one little argument? One little argument? Emily repeated, her voice calm but sharp. You laughed at me. You let Ryan mock me in front of strangers. You called me too emotional, too much. I've been paying your bills while you made me feel like a burden. You're twisting things. No, Emily interrupted. For the first time, I'm not. The silence on the line stretched long. Emily could hear her mother's shallow breathing, the disbelief crackling through the phone. Emily, her mother finally said, her voice tight. You can't just cut us off. We're your family. Emily's reply was simple. Then maybe you should have treated me like it. She ended the call. That evening, she poured herself a glass of wine, sat by her window, and watched the city lights flicker. For the first time, the view didn't make her feel lonely. It made her feel free. Over the next few weeks, her focus sharpened. Her boss noticed. Her projects at work flourished. She was creative, decisive, unstoppable. During a quarterly meeting, the CEO personally commended her for turning a failing client into a long-term contract. Impressive work, Emily, he said, shaking her hand. You've got leadership in you. Those words hit her differently than her family's hollow praise ever did. They weren't flattery. They were respect, earned, not begged for. Meanwhile, her family's silence finally broke. Her father sent an email first, polite, distant, with a hint of desperation. We need to talk. Things are a bit tight right now. Can we meet for dinner this week? She didn't respond. Then Ryan tried again. I'm sorry, okay? I went too far at the restaurant. I need your help just for a little while. The business is collapsing. Emily read it twice, then simply deleted it. A month passed. Bills piled up on their end. The car her parents loved so much was repossessed. Ryan's startup went into default. The irony wasn't lost on her. The same people who had laughed at her over dessert were now drowning without her support. But this wasn't about revenge. Not yet. It was about power, the kind of quiet power that comes when you finally stop giving pieces of yourself to people who only take. One evening, she received a call from the restaurant manager of La Belle Maison. Her card had been left on file from that night. He politely informed her that her father had tried to make a reservation. In her name. Emily almost laughed. Cancel it, she said calmly. And if they call again, tell them Emily Miller doesn't dine with people who mistake cruelty for class. When she hung up, she realized something profound. The control her family once had over her wasn't just gone. It had never really existed. They needed her. She didn't need them, and now that the balance had shifted, she knew exactly what to do next. The time for silence was ending. The reckoning was coming. 3 weeks later, on a gray Friday evening, Emily's phone buzzed again, this time with a name she hadn't seen since she'd cut them off. Dad. She almost ignored it. But something, maybe curiosity, maybe closure, made her swipe to answer. Emily. His voice came through, softer than usual, almost. Careful. We need to talk, please. Her silence on the line stretched long enough for him to add, it's not about money. It's about family. She could tell it was about money. It always was, but still she agreed. One dinner, she said quietly. Same place. Her father hesitated, then exhaled in relief. Thank you, sweetheart. As she hung up, Emily glanced at her reflection in the dark window. The woman staring back wasn't the one who had fled that restaurant weeks ago in tears. Her posture was straight, her gaze calm, her smile controlled. This time, they wouldn't see the version of her they could break. The night of the dinner, La Belle Maison looked exactly the same. Elegant, expensive, glowing softly under its golden lights. But to Emily it felt smaller now, stripped of its illusion. She arrived early. Her hair was pulled into a sleek bun, her outfit sharp but understated. Power wrapped in grace. The maitre d' recognized her immediately and guided her to a private corner booth. A few minutes later, her parents and Ryan entered. Her mother's eyes darted around the room before settling on Emily. There was no confidence in her stride this time, only unease. Ryan looked thinner, his usual smirk replaced by a tight jaw. Emily, her mother said softly as they sat down. You look wonderful. Thank you, Emily said, her tone polite but detached. For a moment, no one spoke. The waiter poured water and her father cleared his throat. Emily, he began carefully. We know things haven't been... Right, we made mistakes, her mother nodded. We just want to start over. As a family, Emily folded her hands. Start over? She repeated. You mean after years of disrespect and months of ignoring me? Now that your accounts are frozen and your bills are due? Her mother's lips pressed tight. That's not fair. No, Emily said. It's finally fair. Ryan leaned forward, his voice low, almost pleading. Look, Em, I was out of line that night. I know that. But I'm drowning here. The bank froze my credit, and the loan's due next week. You could fix this with one signature, please. Emily stared at him, her expression unreadable. Do you know what it felt like? She asked quietly. To sit here while my own family laughed at me like I was a joke? To realize that every kind word you ever gave me came with conditions? Ryan dropped his gaze. I was just trying to be funny. She cut in. I know. That's what you all say when it's me getting hurt. Her father sighed heavily. Emily, we've all said things we didn't mean. Don't punish the family for one bad night. One bad night? She echoed, her calm starting to crack just enough to reveal the pain underneath. You humiliated me in public. You made me believe I was worthless. And now that you need me again, suddenly it's all about family. Her mother's voice trembled. You're our daughter. We're your parents. Emily leaned back, folding her arms. Then maybe you should have acted like it. The silence that followed was deafening. The waiter passed by, pretending not to notice the tension that hung heavy between them. Ryan broke first. You're enjoying this, aren't you? He snapped. Making us beg. Emily's eyes flashed. No, I'm not enjoying this. But I am learning from it. Her tone softened then, not out of pity, but closure. I'm not here to gloat. I'm here because I wanted you to see what respect looks like, when you no longer have it handed to you. Her father's voice cracked slightly. Emily, we're sorry, she met his eyes. For a second, she almost saw the man she had once tried so hard to please, but the image dissolved as quickly as it came. I accept your apology, she said softly. But forgiveness doesn't mean access. Her mother blinked. What does that mean? It means, Emily said, standing slowly, I wish you well, but I won't be part of your chaos anymore. You'll figure things out. You always do when it matters to you. Ryan stood abruptly. So that's it? You're just walking away? Emily reached for her purse and smiled faintly. No, Ryan. I'm finally standing up. She pulled a few bills from her wallet, enough to cover everyone's dinner, and placed them neatly on the table. Dinner's on me, she said, her voice soft but steady, just like last time. Only this time it's the last. Her mother's eyes glistened. Emily, please! But Emily was already walking away. The same elegant music played, the same candles flickered, the same polished floor gleamed under her heels. But everything felt different. The air around her was lighter. As she passed the entrance, the maitre d' smiled politely. Leaving so soon, Miss Miller? Emily paused, glanced back toward the table where her family sat frozen in silence, and smiled. Yes, she said. Exactly on time. She stepped outside into the cool evening air, the door closing softly behind her, like a full stop at the end of a long, painful sentence. For the first time, she didn't look back. The weeks after that final dinner unfolded quietly, almost eerily so. For the first time in years, Emily's phone stayed silent. No more guilt-laced texts. No more emotional blackmail disguised as family concern. Just peace. And at first, that peace felt foreign, like silence after years of noise. She poured her energy into herself. Morning jogs, new clients for her design business, coffee dates with people who made her laugh instead of doubt herself. Every small joy felt like a rediscovered piece of herself. But healing isn't a straight line. There were nights when she'd lie awake, wondering if she'd gone too far, if cutting them off made her heartless. She'd think of her mother's teary eyes, her father's cracking voice, and Ryan's desperate tone, and for a fleeting second, guilt would creep in, until she remembered the years before that, the constant ridicule, the dismissive tone when she spoke, the way her achievements were brushed aside because they didn't benefit them. That memory steadied her heart again. One afternoon, while she was working at her desk, a new email pinged. The subject line made her pause. Family update. It was from her mother. Her finger hovered over the mouse before finally clicking. Emily, we've been thinking a lot about what you said that night. It took losing your support for us to realize how much we relied on your kindness, not just financially, but emotionally. Your father and I are trying to do better. Ryan started a job. Nothing fancy, but he's trying too. We don't expect anything from you. We just hope you're happy. Love, Mom. Emily read it twice. Her chest tightened, not with anger, but something gentler. Gratitude, maybe. They were finally learning the lesson she had tried to teach them for years, that respect cannot be bought and love cannot be demanded. She typed slowly. Mom, thank you for your message. I'm glad you're all taking steps forward. I'm doing well too, genuinely happy. I wish you all the same. Love, Emily. She hit send, leaned back and exhaled deeply. It didn't feel like victory. It felt like peace. A few months later, Emily was invited to a charity gala, one of those high-profile events her parents used to flaunt about but never truly appreciated. The invitation came from a client whose foundation supported women rebuilding their lives after family estrangement. When Emily entered the grand ballroom that evening, dressed in a simple but stunning emerald gown, she felt something shift inside her. Not pride, not revenge, but liberation. She wasn't the girl who used to shrink under her family's laughter. She wasn't defined by their neglect or need for control. She was herself, whole, unbent, and unashamed. As the night went on, she mingled easily, spoke confidently, and even shared her story with a few attendees, not as a tale of revenge, but as a testament to self-worth. When someone asked, "Do you ever regret cutting them off?" she smiled softly. "No," she said. "I regret not doing it sooner." The woman beside her nodded knowingly. Sometimes peace looks like distance. Emily raised her glass in quiet agreement. And sometimes regret is the best teacher. Weeks later, she received another letter, this time handwritten. It was from her father, Emily, your mother told me about your email. I won't make excuses. I was proud in all the wrong ways and blind when I should have listened. Seeing how you've built your life and how calm you sound made me realize what real success looks like. It's not in the money. It's in how you sleep at night. I hope you sleep well now. You've earned it. Dad. She held the letter to her chest for a long moment before folding it neatly and placing it in her drawer. Not to revisit the pain, but to remember the growth. Because in the end, the story wasn't about revenge. It was about freedom. From guilt, from fear, from needing validation from people who once belittled her. Emily had turned her humiliation into transformation. That weekend, she returned to La Belle Maison, alone this time. The maître d' recognized her immediately and smiled. "Table for one, Miss Miller?" "Yes," she said. "By the window, please." As she sat there, sipping wine under the soft light, the same piano melody from months ago floated through the air. But this time it didn't sting. It soothed. Outside, the city lights shimmered like scattered diamonds, and Emily realized she wasn't alone. She was surrounded by everything she had built herself: confidence, peace, and quiet pride. When the waiter came with the bill, she left a generous tip and smiled, because she knew this was the ending her family never expected, but the one she always deserved. She didn't need them to regret losing her anymore. She had already moved on.